If you realize that Christ, John the Baptist, the apostles, they were actually told that they could not teach, they could not preach facts and truth. Liberty of conscience was threatened. Their worship was also threatened. We go to the reformers. In the time of the Roman Empire, Nero crushed out liberties. We have men like John Wycliffe, men like Martin Luther, the reformers who stood up against the papal church. Why? Because the papal church had restricted liberty of conscience. That's all in the record. And that's why many of the pilgrims fled from the papal-controlled old world and came to America with those founding principles. Right here in America, we have Roger Williams. What happened to Roger Williams? His liberty of conscience was also trampled underfoot. And the state, Rhode Island, is a memorial of that. So from your watchtower, what sinister agenda, what diabolical movement do you see on the horizon coming to threaten our liberties right here in America and around the world?
Well, the attacks are coming from all angles. We see attacks on our political liberty. We see attacks on our economic liberty. We see attacks on our religious liberty. We see attacks on our ability to speak freely. And I think ultimately, perhaps the most significant one is the attack on our very ability to preach the gospel, to follow the instructions that Jesus Christ has given us. To go out and make disciples of all nations, to baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and to teach them to obey or to teach them to observe all that God has commanded us. And we see these coming at us very rapidly. Just in the last couple of weeks, the U.S. House of Representatives passed overwhelmingly, they call it the Anti-Semitism, I believe it's the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, something like this. And, I'm always the first one to denounce anti-Semitism. In fact, I think the hatred of the Jews is a very ancient and very dangerous hatred, and I think it actually ties into the fact that Satan is identified as the God of this world. God chose Abraham to make a nation, and he used that nation to bring light unto all the nations. He used that nation to bless the world with Jesus Christ and with salvation. And so this hatred of the Jews goes back thousands of years.
Yes.
So I strongly condemn anti-Semitism, but what this bill does actually goes much further than just condemning anti-Semitism. It actually seeks to control what people may say, and it actually, taken to its logical conclusion, would even criminalize many of the scriptures that we find in the Bible. Incidentally, it would also criminalize certain key doctrines of Judaism. And if you read the Jewish Talmud, there are very, very clear scriptures in there about the role of the Sanhedrin in the killing of Jesus Christ. This is one of the things that is, of course, banned from being said under this act. And so you take that and you put it into the broader context, right? We see all around the world, but especially in the West right now, because it's new, right? The persecution of Christians has existed around the world since the time of Jesus. But what's happening in the West now is all these different attacks. You see one of the recent ones, this condemnation and criminalization of what they call conversion therapy. If somebody comes to you who is struggling with homosexual attraction, somebody comes to you who is struggling with their gender identity, maybe they were born a male and yet for some reason they feel like a female, you are not allowed to say in many jurisdictions across the Western world today that, no, actually God created you a male because he wanted you a male. You are a male. There's nothing you could possibly do to change that. That is how you were created. And Jesus Christ can actually save you from your confusion. Jesus Christ can give you a new heart of flesh and replace your heart of stone. These things are becoming a criminal offense.